Hello, everyone. How have you all been? I've missed doing these readings. It's been a while, but I'm very glad to be back. And we are going to have another reading. We are in chapter 7, the last chapter of the book Beyond the Story, a 10-year record of BTS or Bangtan Sonyeondan or Bulletproof Boy Scouts. So we left off talking about dynamite and the impact of what happened in 2020 globally with COVID-19 and how this has had impacted, not only, of course, the entertainment industry, but all of us all over the world. So BTS unfortunately had to cancel their Map of the Soul 7 concerts, which they had scheduled throughout the year of 2020. And they were just really trying to figure out um, this unusual and unexpected shutdown of the entire world. They were able to come up with a single and an album that was totally unplanned, but they, felt that they had to do something, not only for themselves, but also for their fans, for Army, to cheer Army. And so that's how the album B came to being. And one of the tracks for that album is the blockbuster mega hit Dynamite. So we were just learning about how BTS had to navigate their way with this online medium to promote their song Dynamite. Okay, so we're going to continue from where we left off. And I'd like to acknowledge our background music is from Do Piano, and this is a new one. It's the Love Yourself Answer piano album. Okay, this is chapter 7. We are. This approach of recording a different stage presentation every time for different occasions was in itself quite an adventure. The MTV VMAs appearance involved 2 months of discussion between BTS and MTV as they came to an understanding on this new kind of performance. With the BBMAs, it took a month to fine-tune the visual concept where a video of the instrumental band playing in New York could be inserted behind the BTS members singing the song in Korea's Incheon International Airport. The pinnacle of the Dynamite performance was at the BTS Week in the Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, where BTS would perform on a different stage every episode from Monday to Friday for this extremely popular American late-night show, a feat that cemented BTS's status in America. For BTS Week, Dynamite was performed in 2 versions. One where BTS, Jimmy Fallon, and The Roots The live band for The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon did an a cappella version mixed with various sound effects, and another that was more of a retro vibe, filmed in a roller skating rink. They also performed Home from Map of the Soul Persona and Black Swan from Map of the Soul 7. Idol was performed in Gyeongjongjeon Hall of Gyeongbokgung Palace, excuse the mispronunciations, and Microcosmos in the Yongharu Pavilion of the same historical site. The Cultural Heritage Administration of Korea, which supported BTS in their filming these performances on palace grounds, stated through their social media that it was a meeting between the crowning glory of Korea's cultural heritage, that was Gyeongbokgung Palace, and BTS, a group of artists beloved around the world. The performances also left a big impression on Jungkook. We did so many performances for Dynamite, but the most memorable were the ones at Incheon Airport and Gyeongbokgung, because these are, it must be said, iconic locations. Their activities were making the rounds in the music industry for their innovative presentations, and their stature rose higher with every performance. Form followed function to perfection, as BTS performed in the very airport that would have connected Korea and the world if not for the pandemic, using mass media instead to connect artist and fan. BTS and Dynamite encapsulated what it meant to do mainstream music in the pandemic era. Artists and fans could not meet, but it became possible to have a global hit solely through online performances beamed to local TV programs or online streaming platforms like YouTube and Netflix. A song like Dynamite could reach the top of the Billboard Hot 100 despite all of its promotion being physically executed in Korea. The promotional cycle of Dynamite and the other Korean global hit, Squid Game, that was released a year later, seemed like heralds of a new era. We recorded that wearing hanbok, and I thought it would be cute if I did the traditional bow in it. Jimin laughs. This is why Jimin and the members did a few such bows during their performance at Gyeongbokgung, perhaps as a tribute to the fans whom they could not meet in person. Despite the vociferous praise coming in from around the world, it was still a point of frustration for Jimin and the other members that they could not breathe the same air as their fans. In some ways, Dynamite was our way of overcompensating in that situation, because we could not show the fans something they could see with their own eyes. We tried to make the best of it. It's actually harder to record things without an audience than it is to do a live performance. The 2 months of promoting Dynamite were an unprecedented experience for BTS in the sense that they had a global hit, but were unable to really feel it in their bones. But they still had to work every day to show themselves to the world. Their album tour schedule had turned into album recordings, album recordings. As Dynamite wound down, Jin was having the following thoughts. We had worked so hard and done such a variety and quantity of things this time, but oddly, it did not feel like we were really out there being active. I was watching TV one day and there was an idol group saying, "We debuted this February, but we've never performed for a live audience." It made me think, I wonder what that feels like for them. We also filmed our performances for many different broadcasts, but it felt like we were doing a V Live. Since many people were watching them on their phones, it felt a little less like we were meeting our fans, and that's how we did Dynamite. We put it we put in a lot of effort, and the results were really great. But there was a lack of that thrill you'd get, which is why when I saw the artists who had debuted during the pandemic, it made me think how sad they never got to experience that wonderful thrill. Even with Dynamite clocking 3 weeks at the top of the Billboard Hot 100 and being a hit all over the world, the members were less enjoying the enthusiastic response to the song and more concerned with how to understand these fruits of their efforts. Suga says, I think we all had the same thought. They were results the likes of which we had never achieved before, but were so well trained in coming back down to earth for all that. Not that we deliberately trained for it, but anyway, Suga laughs. It wasn't like we felt nothing. It was more like, I'm happy, but let's get what we need to do over with. There were so many great moments, and as a musician, it was so important to fully experience all of them. But as I experienced them, I realized it would be wiser to get back down to earth as quickly as possible. There was no need to be floating in the air like that. And the other members were not ones to float either. As Suga put it, BTS did their jobs no matter how the world responded to their labors, going to work in the studio every day as usual. As Dynamite was followed by Savage Love by Josh 685 and Jason Derulo, where Suga and J-Hope participated in a remix, and Life Goes On from B, both of which went to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, BTS became the hottest musical act in the world. In addition, Dynamite went to number 2 on the first week of both the new Billboard Global 200 and Billboard Global Exclusive excluding US charts. BTS presented a new paradigm for the American music industry that was finding it difficult to ignore the global music market. This was probably why the International Federation of the Phonographic Industry, or IFPI, presented BTS with an award for Global Recording Artist of the Year, a prize given for the musical act that sold the most units in the world. It was the first time a non-Western artist had won. And they went on to win a second year consecutively, so 2 years in a row. BTS was awarded the Global Recording Artist of the Year. So that was 2020 and 2021. J-Hope summarizes the year 2020, a chaotic time for the whole world, as follows. Really, it was like...
Okay, boys, here we go.
Hang on. Where was I? Okay, J-Hope. Really, it was like being showered with prizes. We were so honored and we had done new things. And while in general it was dizzying, I think the year had many meaningful events. And as a person, the pandemic was a time where I looked back on everything I had done so far and realized this work was valuable after all. And I made a song that captures that. So while there were stumbles, I think for BTS, it was a year where BTS took another giant step. Yes, BTS not only evolved, but adapted, I guess, to what was happening and pushed that envelope once again, and just elevated. I mean, they did online concerts that had millions of viewers, like paid viewers. Yeah. They kept reconnecting and, connecting with the fans through their vlogs. Yes, and all the different performances in all the various broadcasts, both in South Korea and in the US and everywhere else. They just performed, again to the best of their abilities and to perfection. They gave it their all every single time. And they broke every glass ceiling there was. Subheading: People who pray. On November 3rd, 2020, Suga underwent shoulder surgery. It was to treat his left shoulder, injured in a traffic accident during his trainee years, and for which he suffered pain constantly for a whole 7 years, 8 years. Yeah, or if that happened during his pre-debut days, so during his training years, that would have been more than that also. Yeah, because I'm just counting 2013. So if you add, two more years, so that would probably about 10 years of being in constant pain. I worried a lot after that surgery. It wasn't easy moving that arm in the days right after surgery. I thought that I should concentrate on physical therapy before going back to work. Suga was right in that he needed time to heal, and he stepped back from BTS's activities at the end of 2020 to undergo physical therapy. In terms of time period, this stretched from the beginning of November to the end of December, which meant it was a little less than 2 months. But for Suga, this happening was a key turning point. Suga's shoulder injury symbolized a period in his life, a trace of those pre-debut years where he had slogged hard under the uncertainty as to whether he'd be given a chance to do the work he loves. His surgery and treatment thereafter were a goodbye to those years. A thing that had gripped him for a long time was slowly beginning to loosen its hold. So just for context, why did Sugar suffer, that long? Well, he was scared. At the very start, Big Hit was really in such a difficult situation. They had financial hardships, and Sugar was just really fearful that he would be cut from the group, and he had all these worries that if he disclosed his shoulder injury, that would be the end of it, the end of his musical career. So he suffered in silence. Sugar discussed his shoulder injury in detail during an appearance on TVN's You Quiz on the Block. The fans had known about it to some extent, and Sugar had briefly addressed his injury in his song The Last on his mixtape Augusti. But this was the first time he had discussed his injury at length in public. Jimin also talked about the precarity of their time up to the moment of their debut, where they had to prove their worth. Jimin explains of the reasons they were so candid in their You Quiz on the Block appearance. When we were trainees, someone who now no longer works in the company told me, "You might have to get ready to pack your bags." Now what could have been their reason? Jimin laughs. In any case, I'd come up to Seoul with nothing, but it looked like I wouldn't get to debut in BTS. The company was preparing a girl group instead, right next to us. What's going to happen to me? I worried a lot. But everyone was so nice to me in the dorm, and I kept asking them questions. So I said to RM Jung, "How do I get charisma?" Jimin laughs. Then he'd say, "Hey, it's not like I have it either. I think that kind of thing requires a bit of growing up first." Jimin laughs. When asked whether he'd be able to explain to the Jimin of the past how to get charisma, Jimin laughs and says, "I have no idea. I'd tell him to stop thinking silly thoughts and to concentrate on his training." Jimin laughs. Jimin could now think back to the group's past and laugh about it a little. Over the pandemic, they had garnered even more success than before, and had as artists and as adults begun to think about a brighter future. Just as Suga began to think about what he wanted to do in the future as a musician. In fact, I wonder if talking about goals and such has become somewhat meaningless. What more do I have to do? I'm almost thinking. My biggest goal now is to work as a BTS member for a long time. I think the whole group has working together even as we grow older as a common goal. We're thinking a lot about how we could perform with more fun, with more happiness. During the 2020 Mama Awards, BTS presented On in the World Cup Stadium in Seoul. As befitting the scale of the arena, they performed with even more dancers than On usually requires, putting on a show with a marching band concept and adding new choreography to fit. Yes, I remember that. They each had solos. This version of On, one they were showing to a non-live audience and otherwise would have performed during a world tour, was less like a performance and almost like a prayer, a hope that at some point in performing like this, the pandemic would end and we would all be able to meet again. This was perhaps, like Sugar said, the first step as a group in performing with more fun, with more happiness. That spring of 2021, when no one knew how much longer the pandemic would last, Jimin had this to say about what the group had wanted to share with others. That they would listen to our songs and like them and enjoy them with us. Wouldn't that be it? Success and fame and the money that follows are not the biggest meanings in our lives. I just want to do one more performance, to converse with more people. Even if we can't have a long and deep conversation with each and every individual, at least a conversation where we look at each other and shout together and exchange glances. That kind of conversation. That's what's more meaningful. The background music is even perfect. That's Sugar's Seesaw. In his D-Day tour, he played the guitar and sang this song. Oh, that was so powerful. I love that version. Subheading: Finding Hope. BTS's work since the worldwide success of Dynamite was a list of all the things they had to do and did to make Jimin's wish come true. The digital single of Butter, released on May 21st, 2021, entered the Billboard Hot 100 at number 1 and stayed in that position consecutively for 7 weeks for a total of 10. And that was how BTS became, along with the Beatles, one of only 7 artists in Billboard history up until then to chart at least 4 number 1 hits within 1 year. Wow. One of only 7 artists. Chart performance was not the only thing that made it clear BTS had become a phenomenon unto themselves. Just a few days after Butter was released, McDonald's also released the BTS meal, sold for 4 weeks from May 27 to their stores in 50 countries, making the group one of the very few that could put their name on a meal of this global franchise. It was the follow-up to Butter that completed their successful streak that year when Permission to Dance, or commonly called PTD, dropped on July 9 and also topped the Billboard Hot 100. This song, which from the very title itself managed to embody everything that BTS represents, is an ode to the days gone past and infused with a determined spirit to overcome the pandemic. Before I continue, so the single, Butter, digital single, which was released on May 21st, 2021, had the tracks Butter and the Butter Hotter remix. Okay. So the lyrics of Permission to Dance: we don't need to worry, because when we fall, we know how to land. Don't need to talk the talk, just walk the walk tonight, because we don't need permission to dance. And the Butter single album that was released on July 9, 2021 had the tracks Butter, Permission to Dance, Butter Instrumental, and Permission to Dance Instrumental. As the lyrics show, BTS knew that even if they were to come down from their height, they knew how to land and not fall. This was the result of resilience and hope earned through coming through countless struggles. They put this mindset into a melody anyone could easily enjoy, portraying the lives of people who continue to move forward despite the pandemic. The performance included messages conveyed in international sign, and through the BTS Permission to Dance on Stage LA concert at the end of 2021, they were finally able to do it before a live audience. Jungkook shares his thoughts on that day. We are ecstatic and also exhausted. My legs could barely keep me upright during Permission to Dance, but I kept laughing. What a great final song for this concert, I thought, and everyone singing together at the end. That was so great. The message behind Permission to Dance would be completed only after it had finally been performed in front of a live audience. This song was a consolation, not only to its listeners, but to BTS as well. A consolation most palpable to anyone who had gone through what they had gone through even before the pandemic happened. Jimin explains his feelings performing Permission to Dance. It's such a bright song, but my eyes kept brimming over in tears. We did this song and stood in a row for our final vow, and I really sobbed. I think it was because the emotions of the song were truly being felt in me then. It's such a great song. As BTS worked on B in 2020, they had put into the album their thoughts and feelings on their abruptly stopped lives, while With Dynamite had pushed a message of hope. In the summer of the year after that, they sang of the fun and hope one could still have in the pandemic era. These songs, released over a period of 2 years, charted the feelings of countless people around the world who in turn responded to their message, a message whose sender was BTS. And we will stop there. What an incredible reading, was it? It just makes you realize the impact of that song, Permission to Dance, to BTS. I mean, Jimin so eloquently articulated, I guess, what most of us who know the song felt at that time. And I love how it incorporated international sign language. It's very inclusive. So I hope you enjoyed that. And I can't believe that we're in February already. I mean, where has the January, where has the first month gone? But yes, we'll be celebrating Year of the Dragon, Chinese New Year.
I love you.
I see you.
Or Lunar New Year. So whatever, each country that celebrates this different calendar year, have a wonderful Lunar New Year, the Year of the Dragon. And yes, have fun, celebrate, and here's to a wonderful 2024 for all of us. Until next time, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for listening and spending time with this channel. You've been with Beyond 1800 with BTS. Have a wonderful day and evening until we meet again.